All right, here we go, everyone. I'm recording. I don't have a title on the recording, but as usual, I put them in the chats after we're finished. I believe since I last had a open mic discussion on here, so much has transpired, and just to recap what I believe has transpired. In alignment with the Ascension since we last had our open discussion. One of the most significant things is what I had put out. Uh, we are experiencing a plunge in the timeline, if you will. And a plunge, to just elaborate a little bit more on that, is that, let's say, the unawakened quotient needs to experience very rapidly, more so how this world is cruel and not correct and not moral. To keep it simple for everyone, uh, so this it had to occur like this while the higher timeline, the more advanced ones, and I believe that's most of, if not all, on this call. Um, we remain pretty much unscathed by any direct effects, if you will, unless if there's a few divine ones that need to be in these certain areas of desolation to support in these times. Um, but for the most part, the majority are observers. We are in this now witnessing the lower timeline as it rapidly implodes and dissolves. And again, there are many instruments, many attributes that are also set up to implode it further. And one of the main things to rationalize this on Earth, um, not only with its electromagnetic field, but let's say the creational field. The creational field is polarized to the extent that positivity is the upliftment. It raises one and keeps one in a more of a suspended positive reality, whereas negative and old non-virtuous ways, what they do is they attract negativity. So to keep it simple, negativity is fear. Truth, virtue, uh, integrity, pureness is the love, but it's a higher frequency, and it's the positive frequency. So it's very important to know that, to understand a little more of how this reality works, how it is now functioning. It's important to assign a polarity to one's actions. And that's why it's always so important to be meticulous with your actions, your reactions, your responses, and even your conscious thought, and always keep it positive no matter what, is simply what we say and what I say. Ah, all right. Right there, I see Dina wishes to speak. She has her hand up, so let's see what Dina has to say. Go ahead, Dina. Thank you.
I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to do that. I just got on and I hit it by mistake. I didn't mean to do that.
Oh, thank you. That's fine. And there's never a need to say, you're sorry. And this will lead me into a very quick reason why. Thank you, Dina. Everything is divine. And, it's so important for especially us and the ones that know this. Don't apologize. You're always acting from your heart, meaning that you don't do anything wrong. And if you're to apologize for a certain happening when you're always acting from your love and that you're actually are doing no wrong, what you can create is a false energetic field of non-truth because you're not doing anything wrong. And if you do this, it would turn into, let's say, a false statement. Now, in time, it's always important to be courteous and polite and, of course, mannerly. So we like the words, let's say perhaps a better choice would be to say, forgive me. But even with that, you have done no wrong. So you don't want it to be a false admission of guilt, if you will. So that's it's a, let's say it's a tricky thing. However, once you begin to practice more of it, you will also, the awareness of the consciousness in this respect and how it affects things more and more on the individual level, you will come to find the reasoning for that as well. And when you look at being sorry, it's with remorse, which is remorse, sympathy. When you look at these more lower negative based emotions, that's what you need to look at when you evaluate this. Yes, it's important to have compassion and the higher compassion that doesn't take you into sympathy and pity, because if you're sympathizing with another from a place of pity as a co-creator, you are projecting an energy upon them that is heavy because you are sympathizing and you are pitying them. And what this does, it will act more like an anchor and keep them in a lower vibration. So it's important to be meticulous with your actions and turn it more into a compassion, but a positive upliftment. Take it out of the old sympathy of pity and transform that sympathy into a higher form of compassion and understanding and support, just to keep that simple. So getting back to what I was speaking about. So right in this time, I believe it was about a week ago, we're given that the month of October would be a plunge, if you will, in reality, allowing for the old to implode at a rapid pace, with also perhaps uh, more serious, intense, extenuating circumstances to facilitate and affect the outcome on the other side that awakens even a lot more. So again, it's through the experience that also make one see that they have to make higher choices, and this is worldwide. So this is being set up, and one of the reasons for this, the light quotient upon earth, all of the light workers, all of the divine ones, it is very powerful. And the co creator ability of each divine one aligned at this time and aware of ascension, and of course aligned with source and prime creator, mother and father, they are very powerful co creators. So, having said this, the bigger the light quotient gets upon Earth, and it reaches such a point that it can create a flashpoint once enough of the light quotient is achieved. And it would create a flashpoint, a reset in reality, if you will. However, having said this, it was tested around the end of September or about a week ago, the 2 weeks, let's say from mid September on. And one of the revealing and indicating symptoms that there was an ascension test run, if you will, in quotes, was the fogginess, the lightheadedness, the dizziness, the surreal sensations, also the distant sensations from this reality. So it was a various amount of symptoms that ones were feeling. And these ones that were feeling that, it's because they're prime divine candidates that have more of their multidimensional abilities activated, and that are able to transcend the dimensional realities. So, having said this, many of us, I included Femke and others, I saw the other divine comrades reporting the similar feelings, and as a whole, this is what it was indicating, that we were attempting divinely at a, you could say, a good divine subliminal level, to create a reset in reality. So that was ongoing. And what occurred is that yet the masses unawakened in the fear quotient and the negative quotient of energy was still too heavy for us to effect an instant reset of reality. So, with this divinely, upon that test and acknowledgement that we just didn't have quite enough yet to do a reset like that, not meaning that it will not come in the future, because everything is possible. What was decided is to allow a rapid, swift plunge for about a month. The month of October is what I'm given at this time, to out of that dust, out of the experience in the month, that many more will rise, and they will rise more in their divine knowing, and of course into their divine prowess, and also into their divine morality, to begin to unite and to gather in peace, love, harmony, all of the good things. So, having said that, there is no refuting, no ignoring what is actually occurring with this overall ascension. It is divinely ordained and orchestrated, meaning that there is what ones like to say, that they have free will of choice here. In reality and in truth, ones will see, no, you don't have the free will of choice unless it's in alignment with the divine plan, with God and all things good, because this is the promised time. It's been written. No more evil, no more nefarious, no more negative ways. That is savage. Humanity and this whole earth has to advance into civility out of the savage old system, if you will. So that is divinely assured, and no one can oppose nor contest God. So, having said that, the divine souls do not have a choice to refuse God. They are a part of divinity. They are a soul. They are a child of God, even though they may not know it yet. At the soul level, they are, and they must comply with the divine plan, and that's taken care of, if you will, in a higher place and in a higher state of being. One such as I, and perhaps all of you, we are messengers of the light. And it's important that we do speak this truth, and we are the purveyors of this information. Because again, all of us, this is what we want. We want the harmonious, loving, peaceful, comfortable, abundant world. And that's what's being created, because it's in alignment with the divine plan. It's in alignment with ascension. It is in alignment with God. And nothing can stop the omnipotency of Mother, Father, Prime Creator. So, I should not need to say nor explain any more of that. And that is what it is. Just unmuting a few more. So at this point, I'm unmuting a few more that came in. Are there any questions or comments from any at this point? If it is, just unmute yourself and speak up, please. All right, still relatively quiet. That's great. So, in conjunction with this next month, what I'll get into is that the crystalline process is very real. And as we continue forward in the ascension, we are seeing more testimony to that effect, more witnesses attesting, yes, they got crystals coming out of their body, they're seeing them, they're taking pictures of them and different colors. So it is very real. It's not a fantasy, it's being validated and accredited into this reality. And again, with more and more compiling the factual evidence of it, it cannot be refuted by anyone upon earth. It is so, it is true. So, having said that, yes, we're going through the crystalline process. And typically, what the crystalline process is the old human anatomy is being upgraded from a carbon based organism, which is a dense, lower version. Well, no, I won't say, how will I explain this? It's carbon based, but it was dense, not able to evolve the physical vessel. So what's occurring is within every soul that has been born on Earth, within the blood, there in the plasma of the blood, there is the crystalline component that becomes activated by certain light emissions, solar activity from the sun. So this has been ongoing more and more uh, prominently since 2012. And of course, there are different waves in the progression of this that you'll have, if you will, soul groups that may have evolved with their physical vessels a little further. Everything is fine with this, of course, because we're all going, if you will, to the same place. So even though someone might have just begun their crystalline process, what needs to be known that in the blink of an eye, everyone can be put at par as long as they have started their process, but also with the process to more so activated, it's the purity of the heart, the integrity, uh, the virtue, the virtue of the individual. So there are the behavioral attributes that are so important as well. And this is what we refer to as doing the inner work to purify your actions and reactions, your emotions, and of course, your conscious thought. Now, going into this next month period, because we were doing very handsomely well with the progression of the crystalline process in, let's say, what you would call a vanguard, the pioneers that had advanced, that their physical vessels had been advanced to appreciable degrees where their uh, electromagnetic field, their energetic aura, if you will, was protruding from them and affecting a wide space, perhaps what you would say 10 meters out from them, where usually in the past a typical order aura would be like about 2 to 6 inches. but this is to give you an idea of how strong you have become as an energetic being in this reality, but as an energetic co creator. So your influence and impact on reality had reached such a huge state of effect and influence, if you will. Still, with that magnitude we have reached, getting back to where we had the test run, it still was not enough to do a complete reset of reality. However, nevertheless, it was tested. And as a result, to allow for the plunge to occur, uh, each one's physical vessel with your crystalline properties and ability had to be tuned down somewhat. And the reasoning for that, if you stayed fully empowered, your vibration, your frequency that you were emitting, it was not enough for ones to suddenly raise in consciousness, because the fear-based quotient was still too big, so we had to let them slip. So to do this, also, each one of you with your physical vessels, with the crystalline component, had to be tuned down somewhat. So also during the course of the crystalline process, but also in preparation for this, there was two things happening. As crystals were coming out of your body, that was to lower your vibration a bit, so the crystals were ejected out of you with some of you, but at the same time, with crystals being produced at the skin or at the surface of the skin, the epidermis, what was occurring is your internal anatomy was undergoing the crystalline process. So it would depend on the individual if one had to shake off some crystals to lower their vibration, or if one was making the uh, let's say with the nervous system, the routing paths for the crystalline emissions and transmissions, and also the receiving in conjunction with being the heightened energetic empath. So it would depend individually on what was occurring. As for I, the physical vessel I have is quite advanced, but it's not fully advanced yet. But what occurred with I, and I also noticed with Femke, we began to um, eject some crystals out of our physical vessels, because again, if you're too far crystalline, you're in a different reality altogether. And our divine task here is to, yes, I will say, rescue the human souls, humanity. So it's divinely assured that we do not vibrate out of this reality. Now, because everything is miraculous, that with us and with God, nothing is impossible. Because of this, your vessel may incur some more discomfort in this next month, that is more than usual. But this is to let you know that as soon as this negative events worldwide are over, in the blink of an eye, you'll resume where you were at in your crystalline process, and we continue forward. It's quite possible yet that what I am given, what Father has said, that the implementation of the new world of GPMS dot world is still very possible by November 15th this year. Now, if you look at that from a human consciousness, the first thing you would think that so much has to change, which are absolutely right. However, when you include the power of God, for example, in the blink of an eye, change can occur and we can be there. One example I use just as a hypothetical example, if everyone worldwide saw a huge, let's say, a huge God figure speaking from the clouds, if you will, and doing impossible things on the ground instantly, you could see the whole world saying, yeah, God is real and we got to do this, just as an example. And again, because what I said, all things are very possible with God, and don't exclude miracles out of the equation. So with that, still yet, it is still very possible that we have the Earth ascended by November 15th to at least a fifth dimensional state of being where the energetics are enough to flash flood all of the joy worldwide. So, hey girl, dog's barking in the background. All right, I see Kevin Knock wants to speak, so I'll see what you have to say, Kevin. Go ahead, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Rick. It's nice to meet you and be part of this Ascension update. Uh, I wanted to ask you something about transforming into our crystalline uh, DNA once again with 12 strands of DNA, hopefully again. Um, so, as we're ascending or transforming our bodies into lighter bodies and having our DNA, uh, fixed. Um, will we become interdimensional? Question. Will we remain in physical form but be anchored at higher dimensions and be able to become interdimensional to help here in 3D?
Thanks, Kevin. Yes, both of those. So when you're looking at interdimensional, I would apply a description of bilocating with that. Um, Multi-dimensional is more of an expanded ability into different dimensions, different timelines. Um, so it depends upon the individual, and I like to say this at the divine soul level, to what their abilities and their contributions will be to reality and what they're able to reveal to all. Meaning that, how will I put this? Meaning that it's also still possible that much of humanity can be ascended to the fifth dimensional state of being in reality, and a lot of their memory wiped from the past. And having said that, what you do have is, there is a certain amount of the mystery of life that may be kept intact for humanity in the fifth dimensional space, at least in the beginning, meaning that there may be other things that need to play out with the just awakened masses at extending longevity of the physical vessel, which, just as an example, it could be. I'm not saying that it is. With us, we exist for all time. We know that. But right at this point, I'm not exactly given the details of how that will be, uh, let's say, with the ones first transitioning into the fifth dimensional state of being. What I will say, what I have been given, is that upon Earth, it's a good way to look at uh, the leagues of heaven are divinely incarnated here. Now, is it to take all of the divine souls, all of humanity to that level? Right at this time, I don't believe so. I believe our mission here is to advance humanity, at least into the civil state so that they advance themselves from there, but they need to be lifted out of the present savagery, what is here to do that. So all of the intricate details of what it involves, let's say per se, I'm not given it all. I'm given the general sense of it, what I need to be given. And what I will also say that there is a day by day, there is more to be discovered in respect to what you're asking. So to keep it simple, time travel, yes, has been very real. I believe it. Where are we at now? I believe around the turn of just prior to the turn of the 1900s. I think it was 1895 when the first time travel technical devices began to be in more use upon Earth. And of course, those were in the hands of the nefarious ones. And then also there was access to um, the ancient time travel devices, if you will, as well. But to keep it all simple, each time that new technology was released to Earth, to advance Earth, um, with the less than virtuous ones, they were given a certain protocol to follow, but yet they reneged on that and did not follow what they were supposed to do.
So
As a
that was
result,
Enki. That was Enki and Enlil then. Those two.
I, you can, each one for your own intents and purposes can apply figures or identities towards those. For I don't much get into so many of the stories in the narratives because it can make it more confusing for what I teach. So I try to keep it simple. But having said that, if what you just said with um, those two, Entel, and I am familiar with them. If that resonates for you and gives you the direction of the full free ascension, then that's perfectly fine. What I am saying is there's many storylines out there. There is any storyline that disempowers you, the soul, and says that an Anunnaki or something, or a Zeta Gray or a reptilian is more powerful than you, that is lie. It's not truth. These are all fourth dimensional beings, is what they are. The human soul is a multi-dimensional being that goes beyond the fifth dimension. So each one needs to be wise with your discernment at any narrative that you see that puts the human soul second place, then it is not a truth for the human soul. If that answers that, Kevin.
Yes, I agree with you. So yeah, so I suspect a foreign entity from somewhere else came here, knowing that we would surpass them in ascension and intellect and wisdom and everything. So they somehow restricted our ascension abilities until now, and now
That
we're coming out of that. Is that, do you
exactly, yeah,
do you agree
yeah.
with that?
Eh,
Yeah.
eh,
Okay.
yeah, totally agree. That's what occurred. It was the trickery of the mind. See, the actual truth is the human souls are, they carry the likeness of God, which is creation. So that's why we call the human souls co-creators in this reality and in this set of dimensions. But what occurred with the nefarious ones that you're referring to, they cannot work with energetic co-creation at all. So what they were doing was
Mm.
tricking the human souls into believing their storylines to
Oh, so
create
they
that
don't have a
reality
full,
for
so
them.
they don't have a full divine fractal. They use our divinity in order to forward their cause. Is that correct?
Yeah, to create for themselves their fair paradigms. That's what they were doing. Absolutely correct.
Thank you so much. This brings further enlightenment. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, brother. Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak or have any questions at this time? Brother Terry, yeah, go ahead.
Hi, Rick. Right. My question is, when we move to the fifth dimension, what happens to wildlife? Will that they also, I presume, move with us? So wildlife that's been in captivation, like in zoos and what happens with that type of animal? Does it still seek to kill other animals? Can you explain that a bit, please?
Terry, I didn't quite hear you. I was coughing when you mentioned, did you mention a certain type of animal? Could you just reiterate, please?
Yes, it's like the wildlife that's been captivated and put into zoos and whatnot. What will happen with them? Will they still seek to kill other wild animals as it's their food?
Well, what I would say, Terry, what do you feel and what would you like to happen with that? Because it's what you would like to see and what you would feel to see that is going to be part of the creation. And that would be to set the animals free. However, very importantly, all of the animals that are going forward are no longer the old animals that they were before. And this has already been set in motions for years now with individuals interacting with animals because their souls on telepathic levels and even more. So not only is the human vessels evolving, also the plant and animal life as well, what is going forward. And it has to be formatted to fit into the new world. Uh, a quick example, what I can share with you here, but of course, when I give examples, others can't, um, let's say, attest to them. But nevertheless, it doesn't prevent me from sharing. An example is with the dog Mia, her name is, that like about 4 months ago, we came here. I give her little attention because she was still like aggressive and would bark and growl. However, part of Femke's divine work when she come here, no, she made friends with the dog. So quickly over the period of less than 4 months, but right to this now, we have a loving higher consciousness dog, but she actually has a soul. And I and also Femke to whatever degree have been now communicating with her on a telepathic level, which is raising her consciousness. But overall, when you look at this for the ascending world, this dog here now, Mia, is going forward into this world because she is prepared. So that is on a more tangible level. So what is happening on the abstract level is also huge when you look worldwide with one saying and showing how the animals are acting differently. For example, a wildcat laying down with a chicken. You know, they were natural predators in the old world. However, they are changing. They are becoming more domicile in divinity now, if you will. And when we also look at the plant kingdom, when you, let's say, years ago, you would look at someone hugging a tree, think they were crazy that a tree could not communicate. It's being more widely accepted and experienced now because also the plants have been evolving, if you will. And this is in all in preparation for for the new world. So if one is to do and to take a factual scientific study of the plant and the animal kingdom, what I just said about, they are going to compile a very huge database of of supporting evidence to what I just said on different levels. So what this means is that, yes, it's actually occurring. It cannot be refuted. And what you typically see with the metaphysical, esoteric community is that we always say things that at first is rejected by society, but very quickly you'll see scientific theory come in, but even more than that, where science is unable to refute it. But we also see science advancing forward and accepting and supporting more of what the metaphysical community has said in the past. And rightfully so, because we are creating the new world, and the scientific community are great peers to that respect, to give what is proven and what is fact. And simply what is proven is that there is an abstract supernatural force in creation, which is God. So even though there's another choice of words, the scientific community knows that everything that occurs is not by chance, that it is orchestrated to at least some degree, and that it is guided, that it doesn't happen randomly. So I kind of got rambling on there, Terry, brother. Uh, Terry,
No, you didn't really, but you hit one point that I was trying to sort of seek regarding the cat and the chicken. So, in let's say in Africa, there's a lion and there's a small deer that's been born. Um, would that still seek to kill, or would he find another source of food, or what? Would them things change?
well, with this, it's quite possible that, yeah, they could become vegetarian, or something else could be created to change the staple of their diet, which was meat. They were carnivores. So it is with God, again, everything is quite possible. And when you look at this beautiful question that I'd love to have the full answer to now, right at this moment, I don't feel that I have the full answer to that. One thing that we do know is that the humanoid physical vessel doesn't need food, it only needs water. And you can keep your physical vessel healthy and youthful as well, with the more advanced divine awareness. So, in conjunction with all of that, yes, you access, if you will, the fountain of youth. But having said this, where that is so, and where we're going and where we're at now, it could also set the precedent for the animal kingdom and also the plant kingdom to whatever respects, because everything that occurs with us as co-creators ripples out and affects all life and all reality. So I would not diminish the very possibility of that, if you will, a lion not needing to eat any longer. And that is very possible. So with it, we shall see and we observe. And if it's going that way, surely it's going to be documented as we advance, and you might even see science saying that. But when you look at some of the animals, right today, let's take a bear, that are already hibernating. There's up to, let's say, 6 months. Some of these bears do not eat. Yes, they put on stores of fat, what have you, and they go in a den and hibernate and slow their metabolism and blood rate down. But when you look at that ability to go into a stasis state, and where we're advancing forward, it is very much more possible that, yes, the animals will not need to eat as well, or if they do, perhaps just plants. So there's so many supporting indicators of so many miraculous things that can occur. And with I love to keep them all open, and I don't wish to diminish any of them.
Thank you very much for your answer. And by the way, I'm a tree hugger. That's another part of my craziness, as everybody calls me.
Is it? It's not crazy. It's very real.
I
I,
know,
I've
but
wa-
I'm the same, my friend. I hug
yeah,
trees as well.
so it's part of your
thank you.
craziness as well, because I've got loads of people that think I'm still crazy. When I speak to my oldest brother, I go, "Yeah, Peter, I'm still as mad as a hatter." He always laughs, but he still agrees with me.
Let me confess, when I was an egotistical human, it first come into my awareness then that people were hugging trees, and I said they're crazy. But guess what? When I got my divinity, then come the knowing, and my interaction with all living things on the planet, including the trees, is very real. And I love at times. For example, there was a huge, I believe it was an oak tree in Ontario, Canada, that I had hugged because I had to get information from it because it was, I believe it was from 1853 or 1857. I had to get information from it. So this would put the tree, over 300 years old or over 250 to 300 years old. But this tree had stood there for that long, and it was not dormant. It had stored memory of what it experienced. But in this case, I was able to receive, however, the memory was in the tree. I was able to translate it into getting a vision of a part of what had transpired there right in that area. And it was funny with another big tree, another tree. But instead of giving a lot of stories, yes, it is very real. And I saw Femke one time a couple of years ago in Denmark. She got called to this huge, not sure, it might have been something, it's not a poplar, but I forget the name of the tree. It's a deciduous tree, but she got called to it. And let me say, we got pictures of it. We put it out. When she went and began hugging that tree, the sun come out with a heart shape, I think, right on the trunk beside her. Also, I believe there was a green aura appeared, but what it was very apparent that she had connected with the tree, and it was very real. So yeah, we know this, and and it is so beautiful. And when we're collecting, Femke and I, herbs sometimes, relatively just small amounts for our own personal use. Some holistic plants and medicines and before I always pick a piece, I'll ask the plant or at least send an what would I say, an energetic message to it that I just wish to take one bud off of you or what have you. So there's always that respect, if you will, even with the plants that we pick that are alive. Yes.
So you've confirmed something else for me there. When I've hugged trees or spoken to trees in the forest, I've always classed them as ancient stores of knowledge, and you've told me that they do store knowledge. They do store, and
Yeah.
they've given you information.
Absolutely. Everything is light, see, and within the light, all information is stored. But when you look at plants, most of their existence is from photonic light. And because they are not, let's say, like an old animal, that there is not the fear element in there, then it's not as a distorted message that you would get from them. It is more clear and distinct and exact and absolute.
Wow, that's incredible. Thank you.
Is this a form of quantum entanglement because of we're all nature, Rick?
Uh, let's say with your descriptive term of quantum entanglement, I believe you could use that for it to apply, but I'd use the term, which is probably the same thing what you're saying. Yes, we're all interconnected. Once you are at least to a level of awareness of how really connected you are to all things, because once you have that awareness, really and truly nothing is inanimate anymore, meaning that you might think a rock is not alive, but it's very alive when you're able to access the energetic vibration that it exists on. So yeah, if you're using quantum entanglement in that definition with connectivity throughout and networking throughout the universe, I'd say yes.
Thank you. I just recently come to that awareness where I can somehow just open up my vortex or my crown chakra and let the cosmic consciousness in, even during discussion with others. I've done it. Well, Melanie Q probably knows when I participate with on the whiteboard with I Am Rising and that. But that's what I do. I just kind of go with the flow and somehow can pick it right out of the quantum vortex because we're focused in a certain area. So I don't know how it's just new to me. So I'm still experimenting with it, but it seems like there's a vortex from our heart up, and and then from our heart down as well, the other way. But it's balance in our heart. In our heart center is where the balance is, where the portal is. Also, I think there's a portal of love that we can uh, we can direct scalar waves or love bliss waves towards an individual at distance. I've tried it, works, but I'm new at that as well. But I have experienced results by a person on the other side of the country receiving that energy. So yeah, so I guess it's way more than we can even imagine. You know, our abilities are way more than we can imagine. So yeah, as co-creators, we're pretty well limitless, I'd say.
Absolutely. I totally concur and thank you with that, Kevin. Yes, everything is energy. This is one of the essential instrumental ways to begin to look at everything. And when I say everything is energy, that means all of your thoughts are an actual energy that does something and affects reality. But also, when you look at these thoughts are projected out into your reality, into your environment, then it creates an energetic information stream as well that is connected throughout. You might like to call it the quantum entanglement, but it's all connected everywhere. And what happens, the purer you are, because this is in alignment with Ascension, and it's why we preach the purity, the virtue, if you will, because again, purity is harmony and it's parity. It's not distorted. Lies, if you will, is distortion. It's disparity. It's disharmonic. But importantly, it's bias. And what this does, if you're accessing an energetic field and you're already biased by fear yourself, well, what you're going to get out of the energetic field are the lower density things that are reside and are attracted by the fear spectrum. So by the individual purifying their self, because again, within each one's heart is your morality, it's your inherent intrinsic knowing, if you will, the good things to do. So when you build on that, what it also assists you more readily in doing is accessing the information stream at a neutral to positive. And what this does, it takes out the distortion and bias. So you refine what you're receiving, but at the same time, by having a refined, unbiased focus because of your energetic field and your consciousness, you are able to access the depths of the energetic information stream as well, without getting too deep into things, if that makes sense.
Yes, it makes sense. And the more the group of us are focused in a certain direction, like to find answers on a certain matter, somehow the more of us that come together within the quantum in that direction, the more we seem to figure out. And I think the more that participate in the discussion, I wish everyone would, and most do, but I just wish everyone would, because I think the addition of everyone's viewpoints on particular subjects add to the quantum or the cosmic consciousness on this subject, so more becomes available for the rest of us. So this is why I always stress, please bring your gifts to the table, because they edify all of us. So yeah, even if it's something small and you might think, oh, that's so insignificant. No, but to me, it might mean the world. So yeah, so I always encourage everyone, please speak your truth, because this is how we have eyes to see and ears to hear. When we hear you, when we hear you, when we hear you over there too, we want to hear your voice, because it all adds to the collective, which we must go to unity consciousness together. We have to go together into unity consciousness. We can't just go, you know, willy-nilly.
With that last bit, you're absolutely correct, Kevin. It's the whole ascension and divine plan is set up that it takes the unity. Yeah, it's not, this ascension is not for an individual to go through a journey and ascend into bliss, into another reality. Let's say some do ascend, but the majority of us are here to do a reason, for a very important reason. For our brothers and sisters that, let's say, do ascend through what looks like a death process, their roles and their contribution to the overall mission has been fulfilled. So, for the part that they play, then they can go forward. But for the most part of us, the realization comes in that even though we're well prepared to exist on a higher dimensional level, it's not what we're here to do. We're still connected to this lower level of what I call purgatory, to assist our other and brothers and sisters out of this. So this actual ascension is not about us. Once you realize that, it's because we were always, I like to say, ascended masters. We never die. We exist for all times. So having said that, we are here to assist the others that were not able and readily advanced enough to do it. So what this is part of what the overall mission is to do here. And this is why also you did not have the mass awakening simultaneously, that it's been incrementally as well, but it took a certain amount of light quotient, if you will, using these labels, because it's, you know, for explanatory reasons and for ones to be more readily able to envision um, what we're saying. Again, that, you know, everything is indeed divinely orchestrated. We can say that it's already written, if you will, and I like to use that analogy because I like to say that we came back here, that the win has already been written, the liberation of humanity. We have already done it, let's say, in the higher realms, because we are not constant in space and time for what we truly are at the soul level. So we have already accomplished the win, if you will, at transitioning humanity out of this evil world into the civil, loving world. But what's occurring now, we did it on the energetic level. So now rapidly we are back here in incarnate and in the human form to quickly and manually, and more importantly, materially and physically take it to fruition. So we have already done it in the etheric world, if you will, the esoteric divine realm. So now what we are doing is quickly doing it here in the reality for the rest of humanity. So this is why it's never about ourselves, and that we teach ones, in the beginning as they awaken, just you always have what you need. That's another essential teaching. And what I also say to ones, we've had, let's say, in the matrix or in the past life, we're pretty successful, very hard workers, successful, but against all odds, overnight, they lose everything. And it's because their divine role, what they need to play here, is so important, that it's divinely orchestrated, unbeknownst by themselves at the soul level, that they actually put that in their soul contract, quote unquote, so that they would be relieved of the material things, so that they would not be distracted when the time was right to go forward. But they also had to build that trust in this reality, the trust of their self and their connection to divine, so that they could not be wavered nor bought by anything. Because when you look at the evil system, what we're here to implode, one of their mechanisms, by a few owning and controlling the money, and keeping ones under the illusion that it was only a few to create the money, then they were able to buy many. So, having said this, ones then, during part of their process at realizing how they were able to navigate in reality with very little, then these important divine ones could not be bought by the capitalistic system and the evil, because that was actually, it's all one. And actually, it's what we're here to overpower, which we're doing, so that we release humanity from the enslavement of that nefarious worldwide system. But without getting too extensively into that. So,
Wow,
any other?
wow, that's excellent, Rick. You're, yeah, you're helping me greatly. What was I going to say? The thing that, where was I? Oh, I yield for now. I lost.
Yeah, that's fine, Kevin. I know what you mean. The last couple of days, I'd have a very good transmission, a thought ready to say it, and then all of a sudden, I'd say, "Okay, Father, you wiped that one, gone out of the consciousness," and that's been happening to more as well. And this is perfectly fine too, because what we're doing, with your memories and your thoughts at any given time, it's being changed on the soul level, unbeknownst for the most part to the operating consciousness. And for very good reason, because where your conscious focus goes at any given time, even more so now, it's making more of an impact on reality. So there is a divine mechanism that ensures that if you have a thought that you're going to put out there, that if it's in the divine best interest, if you will, that it doesn't go out at that time, you'll just forget it, to keep it simple.
Yes. I was going to mention something about Jesus, or person we know as Yeshua, as the way shower, as the teacher, as the master, and he led me, anyways, to Father just by seeking the kingdom of God within. And I also traveled around the world to figure out, even to Patmos, the cave, try and figure out what the heck's going on here. So even into the king's chamber, and figure out what the heck's going on here. Why am I here? And eventually came to salvation in my 40s. And for the next 20 some odd years, I've been going deeper because I was never satisfied with the Bible. I didn't like
It's Kevin, at times it's a little bit difficult to hear you. Your volume gets right low, so we couldn't hear it, I don't think, in its entirety, what you were saying.
I had my hand over the speaker, probably holding it. Yeah, so it's just been a long journey of discovery and going within. Eventually, in 2020, I think it was around the time I went within and came to a greater awareness. And sadly, it was after I lost a lot of almost everything. And then somehow divinely got some back, so I don't have to work for a little while. And I've been taught so many lessons. I've chased after things, whereas I should uh, just be patient and have faith that God will supply all my needs according to His riches and glory. So I still, have strong faith in Creator, and Jesus is my leader. He's not. I don't worship him. He's my brother. He's my friend. But I still follow him. He's, still King of Kings. So that being said, I think we still need divine intervention. I don't think the Christ risen within us is enough. Not for this time. I've been observing just recent events and seeing the scope of evil against America and the world. Okay, so we know hopefully our commander in chief is in charge of all this, and he has hopefully some sort of help from out there somewhere. So, hoping that is true, um, I still have faith in God that He's bringing the boat to the way He wants it to be. So, yeah, so I can rest in that peace, knowing and continuing to learn and try to discern and try and figure things out, but also have peace if I can't figure everything out, because God's still on the throne, and and the plan's still there. We might not know what the plan is, but some of us might, and I yield at that.
Yeah, well, thank you, Kevin, for that. Yes, incrementally each, they have a journey, and it's unique, but also when you come to, let's say, be in contact with many others, what you consider a unique path, once you're connected with more brothers and sisters, you'll find that no, that it's a common theme for a certain group, and that there's at least several common themes, that even though each one's path might seem that it's unique with some little variables, overall it's the same path. And I love when you said that you look at Jesus as a brother, and because this is truly, the way that I say, and we all know, is that you need to be Jesus like. So it's not the figure of Jesus himself, because that's been stereotyped, manipulated, and put all out of proportions. But it is the Jesus way, which is so important, to be like Jesus, to be as close like to God as possible, and that is the way. But it's not. It's Jesus, if you will, is one ascended master, and throughout faiths you have different examples of that, if you will, that they all have an alignment with part of the way, if not all of the way, in the full course. So again, one thing you did say there is that it's going to take divine intervention. Well, what I say, that divine intervention, yes, is already here, or no one would have awakened if that was not the case. So the Great Awakening, if you will, was orchestrated by divine intervention, as well as with all of the um, other divine attributes that's assisting with this overall ascension. I, for one, would not be doing everything that I am doing worldwide if I did not have the full divine conviction uh, that it is 100% real and true. So for me, there is no doubt for who and what I am and the role I am to play. And so it is divinely assured that humanity does ascend. And the biggest thing is the current worldwide system. It is not in alignment with God. It has to be equality, it has to be parity and harmony. And of course, no politics or military whatsoever. These are aggressive, distorted constructs of the old, and they are not the way forward as well. And for ones that know Jesus, one of the important things was with when he ran the money exchangers out of the temple, so that they were not controlling and influencing the individual. Now, when you look at this on a metaphoric level, this is speaking about the intrinsic value of the individual, and also the individual not being bought by a capitalistic system. You need to keep the temple, your vessel, clear of any of that control and infiltration. And again, it's worldwide harmony. And I don't know if you looked at what I posted today about conceited ego and a healthy ego. Very simply, ego is your identity. Without it, you are nothing, but you have a choice of what ego that you wish to embellish and utilize and put out there. Simply, is it a selfish ego, which is absolutely disharmonic and distasteful and separating? Or is it the selfless ego that has you one with all? And this is the healthy ego that takes humanity forward. So, ego being the identity, but being the moral identity. Because what has occurred with this old system worldwide, unbeknownst to the masses, they were morally corrupted. They were morally corrupted to the extent to allow for a worldwide system that inflicted great harm upon humanity by causing classes of people and creating the most lowest class of extreme poverty just because of money, when the real truth about money is that it can be created by anyone at any time, and we have limitless value. So it's upon knowing this that you can see that the old construct was intentionally inflicting misery and harm upon humanity. And there are so many attributes of that old system that are so blatant how they do it. One of the things I love is when you look at hospitals like in Uganda, that they need to have money before they'll look at a little child. So the little child dies when money's not there. But you look at the sadistic, pathetic practice of one's valuing money more than a child's life. This is not acceptable. And this is what this current system does. Not only has it inflicted harm on all of humanity, it has also separated the churches from God under the control of money itself. And churches and the leaders of churches allowing for a system to exist that was inflicting great harm and death upon many people. That's not in alignment with what God is. So, in this great time, everything is being rectified, if you will, reconciled to the higher, divine, harmonious, loving, peaceful way that it should be. And believe me, politics, governments, and the existing banking and capitalistic system is not what it is. That is part of the old control matrix. So,
The old
any,
paradigms must pass away before we can enter into the new paradigm.
yeah, it's happening simultaneously.
Yes.
See, you cannot have what I like to say, Kevin. We are the new paradigm, the new earth is being created through the divine plan of GPMS.world official that we have here. And you cannot have the full implosion of the old paradigm without any other vent venting system or any new creation to go to. So it occurs simultaneously as the old implodes and ones get ejected from it. They have the higher safe haven of the creation of the new world to go to. So they are not forsaken and forlorn and left alone. That then they more so see, all right, yes, the old paradigm is imploding. However, at the same time, there is a new paradigm that is the promise of God to be a part of, if you will. And it's also not a fantasy, this new paradigm, again, with what we're doing, the divine plan with GPMS.world is to ratify it worldwide physically, and it's tangible and it's material, but it's so easy to do because humanity are familiar with a majority vote and how it wins. So the divine plan is being ushered in very quickly, that we don't need to educate all of humanity, that we give the new world replacement system to them as an option if they wish to agree and add their name to quote unquote this new treaty, if you will. But it's the new world, it's their full redemption, it's their full salvation, it's their full rapture up into the upliftment and consciousness, but also the upliftment into a civil reality and society where the incompetent, nonsensical endangering of children's lives because of money and depriving them from sustenance. So the new world is already created. It's being it's the the what I need to say, the vehicle to the new world is already attached to Earth. It's here, and it's made by individual choice at this time to agree with it. And the quicker that we have the majority vote, the quicker the old system implodes. Because again, the old system and the old paradigm cannot compete nor contest nor oppose with the concrete absolute divine plan of creator and in alignment with this overall ascension. So it depends upon the individual choice to some degree. But as I said in the beginning of this, there really is no other choice. Eventually, all will see that, and inevitably, that they will comply. It's what they want anyway. So it's just the course of time here that we're going through, and worldwide, you will see the events worldwide are also, let's say, making at least people see that money can be created instantly, and how it should not be an object for the value of inhibiting or taking away the value of even one human life. Upon what I'm looking at, and I'm just generally saying, if we look, I don't have all of the verified news yet, but if you look at the hurricane in the US, with many stranded, where is all of the American military with all of these helicopters, and let's say all of their military that could have come in one day and rescued many? Why is it taking so long? There is not the reasonable excuse or justification by a government. There should have been the instantaneous action without money being any obstacle at all. But again, if and what it looks like, if money played a role in this, preventing military from saving lives, that is a very sadistic world and system, again, that is not in alignment with the best interests of the public, and most certainly humanity. But we've seen this all around the world, the same thing, the mass destruction with the floods in the Philippines, Nepal, India, China, um, US, Bosnia, Czechoslovakia, Poland, even a bit here in Romania. So you're seeing it all around the world at one time. And let me just say, a lot of these storms are created because of fear energy. It is density, and I don't wish to get too deep into the mechanics of how it works. But what I will say is that fear energy, and the ones that emit it, it is a disharmonic energy, and it is a turbulent energy. So when you have that energy going out into the environment, it is not the calm, sunshiny days, what you're putting out there, which is the bliss and happiness. What is actually being put out there is stress and fear, which is compounding and mixing with the electromagnetic field of Gaia, of the earth, and it's creating distortions and disharmony, which creates storms, if you will, just to give you a little bit on that. But here again, I've been rambling and rambling. So, any other questions or comments?
Maybe, well, if the governor was complicit, I'm sorry, you can speak, Palladian. I've spoke before.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Rick. And thanks, everybody else. Yeah, I mean, that change, like that intervention we're talking about, must happen, and it is happening. And I agree with Rick, because otherwise, I mean, without some chaos, there will be no order, whether this agenda's there or there. But the new earth should be on our, like, as our imagination is very powerful, but our thoughts, the mind, the ego acts on a different way. So what I'm trying to imagine every day as an anchor to that, my intention goes to what I wish to create, exactly as Rick said. And there's just no other way, because sometimes we slip into many everybody knows thoughts and anxiety over thoughts. So the mind always creates whatever we soak up our minds with, whether it's media, television, computers, whatever. So there's always a confusion on the mind level, but when we imagine, it's using our soul's divine skill powers to alter that energy that we create by our thoughts. So, I mean, everybody else could use different ways to center, but centering might not always be possible. It's, always, but trying to implement on daily basis just the powerful imagination and looking and imagining the brightest future and the brightest new earth that I guess we can ever wish for it, because it is a miraculous thing to imagine. And that's the only thing I can say about that.
Yeah, thank you, brother Pleiadian Daniel. Yes. Any other questions or comments at this time?
Yes, I have one. It's Coco speaking.
Go ahead.
Yes,
Coco.
Hey, everybody. I'm a little puzzled about when we talk about the different timelines and dimensions going on right now. Because, as you know, well, Rick, that I work with these Rife frequency generators, and you said at one point they won't be necessary, and of course they won't. But right now they may still be necessary, especially for supporting people that are maybe like very much still in 3D. So I started to talk to the generators as they made in 3D. They produced in 3D, and I asked them to come up to the highest advanced level that I have when I work on it. But then I thought, can we do things like that? Like if people are still um, committed, you could say, to 3D, we will have to treat them, in 3D level, wouldn't we? I mean, you cannot. I'm a little confused. Like, should we actually treat people that are still walking around in the mainstream media life and waiting to awake if that's what their choice is? I feel like sometimes I may be like not forcing, but pushing my energy or my ideas onto them when I work with these healing devices or energy frequencies. It's the quantum entanglement again. I know the frequencies or the machines are not really necessary, but for 3D view they are, because they like to see these things and then they kind of understand it. So my question is more like, I don't know if you follow the question. It's about the level.
May I answer, Rick,
Yes.
if you don't mind?
Sure.
The reason I'm jumping in to answer this is because I'm currently living with a housemate, a friend of mine, Ryan, and he's really putting in the work to go through his journey and go through this process. He has the full intent and is engaging fully with the process, even though it's hard for him sometimes and it struggles with certain concepts. He makes every effort and has every intention of understanding these things, working with these things, coming to know them and apply. And he also makes the effort to apply them and observe them. And so the answer to your question is, yes, you should. Well, the question you should ask yourself is, what is the intent behind the individual that I'm dealing with? If the intent, and I was having this conversation with him earlier today about somebody else we met when we went out for a meal and when we went to play some snooker, and we met a friend of his who's in a low vibrational place and he's struggling, and it's manifesting in outbursts of anger and projection. And Ryan felt began to feel uncomfortable. He's like, right, the energy feels dense. We go. So we went, and then afterwards we analyzed it. And he said he felt that he's getting tired of people, and he's getting annoyed at just people in general. And I had to explain to him, yes, as you begin to rise in your frequency, the discordance and disharmony in others that don't fit with you will begin to become very clear. They will stand out like colored flowers in a field. Now, the thing is if you and he also made the comment that it seems to be getting faster, that these behaviors he's now seeing, he's now able to see these patterns in people are happening faster and faster in people. And he's noticing that speed and increase. And I said, yes, it's because we're getting closer and closer to the new world. And so the universe with each individual is essentially faced with one of two things. They're either dealing with an individual that it believes can make it in their current physical form into the new world. So it's hitting them over the head with a hammer. Come on, quick, quick, quick. You can do this. You can do this. Let's get you to despair, that Goldilocks zone of despair where you will make the decision to break through. And there will be those who are probably not going to make it in physical form here. So the universe kind of enters into a sort of palliative care scenario, in metaphysically speaking, where with these people. And I said, you'll be able to distinguish between these. Now, when the intent to grow, when the intent to understand these things and to increase your frequency and vibration is there, yes, at first they may still require what you'd say is 3D methodologies, because deep down inside they're still holding beliefs such as, for example, we need to have vitamins and minerals and proteins ingested in order to be able for our bodies to live. When we understand that actually, no, at a certain vibrational frequency, we can just pull these out of the ether, and create those compounds within our body without ever having to ingest anything. But that is a much further down stage of understanding. In the time between, whilst you're dealing with these fundamental beliefs, because the body intelligence cannot go against fundamental beliefs of the consciousness. So if for example, if you hold the fundamental belief that you have to age, that you must eat and drink in order to live, the body consciousness cannot go against the higher consciousness or your conscious mind's fundamental beliefs. So until those fundamental beliefs are addressed over time through example and experience, so that they can release those fundamental beliefs and then go into a more 5D form of existence, it is absolutely okay to assist those individuals with, quote unquote, don't call them 3D techniques, call them lower 4D or 4D techniques. They're on the bridge in between getting there, but the intent is there. They are on the bridge and they are walking forward. But when you come across individuals who have strong or violent or mocking resistance to anything close to what you understand would be required for them to heal, then don't waste the energy. Allow them to wind down their journey, because all your intervention will likely do in those instances is extend suffering, which would be counter to what you intended in the first place. So I hope I didn't over complicate that, and I hope I was able to get that across. But thank you for allowing me to answer.
Oh, thank you so much, brother. And
Thank
just
you.
we have started a divine support channel on Telegram as well, and Michael is there, as well as other uh, great divine ones, to purvey the information and assistance and support to others. Just getting quickly to and to perhaps summarize, Coco, what Mike just said. What I need to say, it's so important not to judge who comes before you when you're using these, I'll say, transitional modalities and healing techniques, that you entrust yourself as being divine, meaning that if one comes before you, even if you would call them 3D, in the overall scheme of things, because you are divine, they are there for a reason. So it's best not to, as Mike is saying, with your intent, just whoever comes to you, do not judge and just assist. And, for example, with a 3D unawakened one, just by you assisting them, it can very well be part of, and it is, of your divine role at activating and changing their life forever. A 3D consciousness one, what you're using as a description, um, uh, they how am I going to put this? They could be one that becomes a huge testimony to the effects of your gifts. So you don't wish to judge nor diminish anyone. You wish for the judgment to be carried out on the higher level, meaning that whoever comes before you has already been judged, if you will, by God. So you perform your healing techniques and your healing modalities. Just to share, because it is in alignment with this, Femke and I have a friendly mouse that come inside of the cabin last night, and couldn't get him out, and I don't want to hurt him, of course. Um, but today he's still in there, so we're going to get a little, we're going to do one of two things. We're going to put our food in a plastic container, because we're in a small cabana and we don't have any a cabin, we don't have any cover, so we just put it on the floor, so we can put those things in a sealed plastic container, perhaps keep the mouse out. um, but also we're going to get a little traditional live trap where he can get on, when he goes for some food and we get him, then we can put him outdoors. But also, uh, another thing, I'm going to put out a piece of bread for him tonight to eat, so you won't go in our other food. And what I said to Femke today, it's so important, it could be so important, even with this mouse, that we don't harm him, that he could save someone's life in the future. And that's why it's important not to judge in the moment, because everything is connected that comes before us. You might ask, how would a mouse say, this very mouse save someone in the future? Well, very quickly, I could think of one way. Let's say that this mouse went down the road and went into another house. And let's say if the house had caught on fire, this mouse could come and wake someone up when they're sleeping. And it could very well save their life. So, it's not for us to judge, um, and project negative things into the future. It's always good to be in the now and accept it, and always appreciate and anticipate always the higher, better, benevolent meaning of things and how things can turn out. So I just wanted to add the mouse in there because I love all animals, and I love the little mouse guy. He's afraid of us, but that's his imprint that he has yet, and we're going to save him in whatever way, put him outside. But quickly, Coco, with the work you're doing as well, it's so important, and I know, and we both agreed before, even though you may be using some instruments or tools other than yourself, the real magic and healing power is coming from you, and it's coming from your intent, as Mike said, meaning that in reality, yeah, you can just use your hands to heal, but at this time you're using these other devices, and it's all for the advancement of all. So it's important not to diminish nor question yourself with, what you feel to do, unless you're given a different guidance to do something else. So trust in and go with that divine flow with it, if that answers the question, Coco.
It does, thank you. And by the way, the mouse, there's an app with frequencies, and if you put it on tonight, the mouse will move away himself. That's a very peaceful and I think human way to do it. You should
Oh
get.
yeah, they had the frequency, but
Yeah.
also they had what they call the mosquito frequency device that they were using in the UK, and it emits a frequency, but it emits a frequency that teenagers would not hang around doors storefronts. They would not know, but they just
Yeah.
would not feel comfortable. So
Exactly.
when we use any of these frequencies and EMFs that the others were using for I, it doesn't resonate to use them. And I know very well what you're saying about, because even cats and other animals, they don't like it. It's disharmonic, and it's set up as a disharmonic uh, energy. And so,
Oh.
for some,
Okay. For
yeah,
some,
that's why. Yeah,
because
yeah, they detect the field
yeah,
that
I
it
know.
emits. It's not natural, and it's very disharmonic, and that's why they stay away, if you will.
Yes,
So,
yes. But I have to say here not to get into discussion because you're just like hitting my case right now because I'm in Greece and I actually do this. I put it on last night for the mosquitoes, and it's the parasites inside of the mosquitoes that actually go away, and this kills the life energy in the mosquito. And this is the point, not to kill, and it's only one, but the rest of the colony, since it's a collective reality for the mosquitoes as well, they stay away. So I think that's the nicest way to do it if you have to sleep at night with this many mosquitoes. I can't make them go away by myself. So I use.
yeah, that's your way. I know
Yeah.
with the mosquitoes, that's been quite a challenge. And yeah,
But yes,
so you're
I
doing
understand.
temporarily
Yeah,
what you need to do.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yes. Okay, thank you, thank you.
You're
This
Yes,
welcome.
yeah.
this morning in the laundry room, I saw a mosquito flying towards me, and I remembered I got malaria in Africa from one of those, and I just squashed it.
Well done.
Well, the mosquitoes, yeah, one of the things, you give them a warning, but if they continue to, let's say, attempt to inflict harm upon you, you're allowed to defend yourself. So, yeah. And one thing with the mosquitoes, what I'll share is I say, Father, is it really necessary that we still have to have these experiences? Because I'm like Coco and all of you, I have tried so many things. Sometimes divinely our powers are allowed to work, but most of the time not. And so I said, Father, is it very necessary? And his thing was, they're for the birds. So more or less food for the birds. However, he said that jokingly. But yeah, in the new reality, I don't think these pests will exist either. So there'll be, if the birds no longer, let's say, need to eat like the other animals, then there may not be the need for these pests. But let's see what occurs with it.
I agree, Rick. I don't want mosquitoes, spiders, or some harmful ants or flies in the new earth. Those things are bothersome and harmful.
Yeah, in the
Said
old world.
prayer before you kill them.
But nevertheless, I believe at this time I have a call coming up, an individual call. Yeah, so I must shut this down for tonight. And as I said earlier, there is another Telegram group. I believe we call it Divine Collaborative Chat, and it's a open support chat. For anyone can start the live streams, and the admins can start it and just chat and support and create a support community. Having said that, anyone that's on here, you can scroll up, I think, on my channel, and you may be able to find the link to it. But right now, I do need to go because I have a call coming up shortly. And with that, love, light, and gratitude to you all. And I'll put the
Thank you so much.
recording in the, you're welcome. I'll put the recording in the channel like I always do. So love, light, and gratitude, everyone, and have a beautiful day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome all.